what are the common challenges do you think as an applicant can face while they're applying for Canada's startup?
I think the most challenges in my mind would be the English requirements as well as minimum funds.
What is the main role of VC in terms of the funding in Canada's startup specifically?
And I think the biggest difference between any other programs than startup programs is these individuals can apply for their permanent residency.
Welcome to Global Residency and Citizenship Talks. I'm Waqar Karim, Chief Operating Officer at WWICS and CBIS, the world's largest immigration group. For over 30 years, we have been at the forefront of the immigration industry, helping the global elite navigate the complexities of international mobility. Many countries are keen to attract such high caliber individuals, and here at WWICS and CBIS, we have dedicated decades to understanding and facilitating these opportunities. Join us as we decode the complex world of residency and citizenship for you. Before we proceed, please like and subscribe to our channel, Global Residency and Citizenship Talks. In our last episode, we explored the UK investment-based residency and citizenship options with Human Sheikh. Today, we continue our series with another special guest, Mr. Pourang Taheri. He is the managing partner of Arete Venture Capital. Mr. Taheri brings a wealth of experience in the financial services and real estate sectors. At Arete, he has worked on 250 million US dollar projects in multi-unit real estate development and constructions, including the Arete Queen's Landing Townhome project, a 24 million endeavor. He has also raised over Canadian dollar 30 million in capital and is the CEO of Prime Rate Funds and Blue Castle Investments. He has held significant roles at Abana Capital Investment and Corate Resources. That has an impressive background. Thank you, Mr. Pourang, for being here with us today to discuss Canada's Startup Visa Program and the role of Venture Capital Group. At our Dubai office, you have been here, and now here we are at the studio to discuss more in detail.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here and sharing some insights and experiences that we have gained over the last few years. So very excited about that. Thank you.
So today we want to delve into your role as a venture capitalist in various investment-based programs that can help clients qualify to enter Canadian market. So I want to start with first question to give a better idea to everyone who is watching this podcast, or to our viewers and our clients and applicants and anyone who wish to know about Canada's startup. Can you give us an overview about Canada's Startup Visa Program and its primary objectives?
Yes, the startup program has been around for many years. This was a pilot project. My understanding is this was a pilot project that the government of Canada introduced back in 2014, and it became a permanent project. It's one of the main tools for venture capitals to be able to support, bring innovative entrepreneurs from around the world. RVC has been established for many years. We have been supporting a lot of local startups. However, the designation that we have received allows us and help us to bring, entrepreneurs from around the world, which we are very excited about.
Mm-hmm. So that means Canada's startup is the right pathway for those who are looking to start a new business, establish the business, and become successful in Canada. And as a VC, you could provide the right support and guidelines to them to become more successful. But for our viewers, can you give us more insight about the exact role the venture capitalist or venture capital group plays for those entrepreneurs who are coming to
Mhm.
Canada for their business success?
Yeah, that's a very good question. This is what we do for living. We have been supporting a lot of local startups, as well as entrepreneurs from around the world. They might not have the right resources, right mentorship, right group of people that can support them both financially and mentally, right?
Uh-huh.
So this is what we do for living. We have a wealth of experience of supporting a lot of these smaller entrepreneur companies, individuals with the right-minded individuals that don't have resources, and we typically allocate resources. We give them, a lot of supports, so the ideas would get hopefully flourished by having a support backed by a venture capital, both financially as well as other tools and facilitation that we provide.
Okay, so again, it's very important for our viewers to have better clarity and understanding that
Yeah.
will help them to actually establish the fact whether Canada's startup program is the right program for them, and as a venture capitalist is the right group to take the support. Uh, when you say financially, what type of financials, and whether it is regulated? Second, what is the criteria of those financial support?
Yes, that's a very good question. Absolutely. I think the main thing is VCs who have received the startup program designation must invest a minimum of 200,000 Canadian dollar into the business. That's a minimum. We typically invest more. As you know, with any startups, it takes a lot of resources and efforts, and usually the amount exceeds more than $100,000, and that's what we do, and that's what the VCs do, because they have the capability of doing it and doing so, as well as I think the experience is the main factor. Because we have been, dealing with a lot of support, like startup companies, and typically with any startup companies, with entrepreneurs, they might have the right idea, however, they're not, because of many reasons, including financial reasons, they not be able to take it to the next steps more efficiently and smoothly. Because as you know, there are many challenges that comes running a company, and obviously it's innovative startups would be I would say a more challenge typically compared to any other businesses. That's where we come into play and support these individuals, both financially and with experience and what we discussed over the last few
So
months.
what I understand that as a VC, not everyone can get the support from them unless they have a very good business plan and innovation.
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned in touch base, that the team who are going to implement that business, or the owners and main promoter of the business, should have the right experience and the right right candidate. These combinations, not just these made, there could be many more, but these are the major conditions on the basis of which a VC would decide the funding of a project. Am I correct?
Absolutely. As you mentioned it, we are not just supporting any, innovative companies. We must do our due diligence. And we have a very thorough due diligence process that we put these individuals in it, and then based on obviously we have a very high standard, and then if they meet the criteria, if we think that the ideas, because one of the challenges that I have seen over the last few years is, for example, one idea might be great in countries like Dubai. However, when they move to Canada, that could be for whatever reason, not knowing the market. Even running an operation in Canada is very different than Dubai, and that's where we come into play and support these individuals. So yes, as you said, it has to be a qualifying business, and once we do our due diligence and onboard them, then that's where we come into play and start supporting these individuals to hopefully take their business to the next step and flourish that idea, right? So
that's quite insightful to have better understanding the role of VC and those who are looking to actually go there and take the support of VC. So they have a better idea.
Yeah.
That information is very important. Now I move to specific to Canada startup requirement. What are the key criteria do you believe an applicant should meet to qualify for Canada startup in
Yes.
general?
Yeah. Are we talking about the startup program
Yes,
mainly, or any
any
programs?
specific to startup program itself.
Programs, yeah. With the startup programs, any VCs have their own set of criteria, depending what they are looking for. Typically in VCs, the bigger VCs, the minimum investment size would exceed $1 million. For us, we are, I would say, compared to the big fishes in the market, we are one of the smaller VCs where we like to support these smaller companies that with the minimum of investment that comes from us would be able to continue their operation and, as I said, have a good growth. So it's a bit unorthodox. However, this is our forte, and we've been successful of doing so for many years. But as I said, it depends. It depends, what typically VCs have, different criteria, different investment criteria. So it really depends. That the short answer is depends, but I think it would be the best and fastest channel for startup companies to be able to get support from VCs, because I know that there are other type of investors out in the market. However, VCs, because of bundle of experience that they have, and this is because this is what they do, I think they would be able to position themselves better and support these individuals in a much efficient fashion compared to other methods.
How can an entrepreneur benefit from investment opportunities in Canada market? Can you give some insight about that?
Yes. Generally, Canada is one of the leading countries when it comes to sponsoring and supporting startups, mainly for the last 10 years. Especially where we are located. RVC, we are located in British Columbia. And, we get a lot of resources, helps from the government as well. So these individuals, as long as they have this qualifying business and the right idea that, would get qualification from the VCs, they can get a lot of financial and as well as other type of benefits from the VC, as well as, some regulated authorities that are sponsoring these startups. So I would say generally, definitely, Canada would be a very desirable destination for these startups to come and operate their own business.
So there's the right market, you're saying, because of these investment opportunities. So on the same time, for those who are looking for these opportunities, what is your suggestion to consider while they are coming to Canada? What are the common challenges do you think as an applicant can face while they're applying for Canada's startup, and what would be your suggestion for that?
A very good question. I think the most challenges in my mind would be the English requirement, because not only that the business has to be qualified business, there are some English requirement, a minimum score that they need to have, as well as minimum funds to be able to support themselves throughout the first couple of years of living in Canada. Because as you know, like a lot of places, the cost of living is increasing, and these individuals have to be prepared and have to know it in advance to be able to support themselves. Because as you know, with any startups, usually it takes at least a year or two for them to be able to have any income and revenue. And obviously in that duration, that time, these individuals must be able to support themselves, because majority of them have families that they would like to bring and move to Canada. As a result, the cost of living could be something that could be unknown. And we like to usually, with any startups that we sponsor, we'll make sure that these individuals know these things in advance, so they can be prepared for it.
So it's not just about going for Canada for business or entrepreneurial funding, but it's about many other things
Yeah.
which are very important for a successful entrepreneur in
That's right.
Canada, whether it is finances, whether understanding the taxes, what you said, whether understanding about the family settlement or the settlement, the social settlement, and so the local norms, connectivity in the market, all those things is a very important thing which you said.
Absolutely.
So, as a VC, as such, you've told, but I would like to have a better understanding for our viewer. What does a backing by a VC actually means in regard to Canada's startup? Because a VC could fund to any other business apart from the Canada startup ecosystem. Am I correct? Correct me.
Absolutely.
So, how does it mean? What is the main role of VC in terms of the funding in Canada startup specifically?
Yeah, I think the main and key factor would be if these businesses are qualified to us, and if all these criteria are met, then we would issue the letter of support to the government of Canada, asking that the government that we would like to support these entrepreneurs. And I think the biggest difference between any other programs than startup programs is these individuals can apply for their permanent residency.
Oh, that is the main
The main
differentiator.
difference, which is a main factor, because a lot of these individuals, they like to move to Canada and live there, and rightfully so, because when you establish a business anywhere, you have to make sure you stay there and oversee the operation. And I think that programs enable us as the VC to be able to back these individuals, to be able to sponsor them, support them, as well as these individuals to be able to live in Canada in a long-term basis, and they get their permanency residence.
Okay, so how do financial services firms support Canada's startup businesses and their growth in Canada?
I think the first step would be the funding, and that's why there's that minimum of 200,000 that has been enforced by the government of Canada to be able to financially sponsor these individuals. However, as I mentioned earlier, I think the biggest differences between a VC and any type of other investment company is the experience, the wealth of experience that a VC has to be able to allocate and help. For example, I'll give you an example. Hiring the right individuals, employees in a company, because that's a key factor, as well as assigning a right path, right, to these companies, CEOs, to be able to understand the business better and to be able to succeed faster and have that growth. So I think that would be the most main key factor in my mind for any VC supporting these individuals.
Okay, so that support for being successful as a business, not just for funding, for settlement, and many other factors which you touch based. How can small companies leverage these investment-based programs to expand their operation in Canada?
One of the challenges that I have seen with the small to medium-sized firms is the lack of resources, mainly financially. As I mentioned earlier, Canada is one of the leading countries when it comes to sponsoring these startups. There are a number of grants available that have been designated by the Government of Canada funding organizations to be able to support and help these individuals. These mainly are non-dilutive assistance that, for instance, as the owner and the founder of company, they don't have to, give up their own, ownership of the company. However, being able to, deploy and more funds into these projects, which is very vital, especially at the beginning of stages. So there are very number of programs that are available to assist these entrepreneurs. However, having a VC-backed company would definitely bring that credibility for these entrepreneurs, and which is a main factor.
That's great. So, what are the main promising sectors do you see in Canada and could potentially benefit new applicants who are planning to go under the Canada Startup Program?
Yeah, I think not just in Canada. I would say generally in the world right now, a lot of tech companies with an AI capabilities are now leading in every aspect, industries.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I think any tech related ideas, innovations would be very attractive,
Uh-huh.
and in my mind, I think would have a better chance of succeeding in the Canadian market.
So specifically a tech-based business with right business innovation and with right experienced team would be an ideal sector in Canada right now. Any
Absolutely.
other apart from the tech-based business, or it could be a tech-based in any other industry, or it has to be purely tech.
No, it's a good question. I think what I was referring to, tech-based ideas in any industry would
Oh,
now be very desirable.
uh-huh,
However, we like the VC job is not really dictating or choosing any specific industry. For us, is
uh-huh,
the idea, the innovation
uh-huh,
in the Canadian market. This is
uh-huh.
what we look at. So in my mind, I think as long as it's the right idea, has the right, I think it's just not the idea, the team behind this would also be a main
Oh, very
factor.
important.
Typically for these startups, they have different few founders, few team members that are very vital in
Mm-hmm,
running the operation,
mm-hmm.
and that's what we always look at. Not just the idea, the team behind this idea is as well.
So that means, to be specific, if I may ask this question, that while you're deciding on funding on any project, or for say finally giving them a little support, with that little support, you will take them through the interview process of
Yes.
these founders, the team who are behind this idea and the project.
Absolutely. We look at their business plan, both short term and the long term prosperous, as
Uh-huh.
well as the team members that have been working and supporting the business, right?
Uh-huh.
Typically, it takes a number of individuals, right-minded individuals, to be able to establish a business
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think we definitely look at the team members and how experienced they are, their background, which is very crucial running a business as well, right? So
Yeah, with that, I understand you have been personally with a vast experience in funding and so in the VC within Canada and globally. And so your VC firm actively involved in supporting the businesses. Can you share some stories, or probably one or two stories, of successful applicant or entrepreneur or business coming to Canada and establishing themselves?
we have many stories to share with you. However, I think it's a long journey with any startups. It's a long journey, and to be able to, first of all, be able to participate in the journey and to be able to, help these individuals. In my mind, it's a amazing story for us. I
Mm-hmm.
think that pleasure that you get by sponsoring and supporting very well-minded individuals, it's a
Uh-huh.
blessing, has been a blessing for us. And for example, one of the success story was there was a startup company that we had the pleasure of sponsoring at that time. They because of lack of funding and not having the right mentorship, the founder they almost gave up. They did not want to pursue in the company, the idea. However, we came into the play and we were able to put everything in the right place and support the CEOs, because unfortunately, one of the challenges that I see with the founder and CEO of any startup company is the amount of pressure and stress that is on these individuals. So the lack of focus that might create.
Uh-huh.
So having a VC-backed company would allow them to focus on their job and be able to fully dedicate themselves rather than stressing about any other challenges, which financial would be one of the main key challenges. So we've had a lot of very nice stories, and would love to definitely share with you.
So what I understood, to summarize, that with the VC support, apart from the funding, which they get certainly for funding, they need to have that expertise, the business idea, innovation should be good, the team behind it should be excellent, they need to go through the selection process or interview process. But at the end of the day, it's not just about funding, it's about the support. It's a 360 degree, which helps these businesses to succeed what they would have done in many years if they would have done without VC. But with the VC, they are achieving more faster and scaling their business and becoming successful in Canada. That's a great help and support you're doing into the Canada startup ecosystem. In fact, what I also understand, I would like to just touch base quickly, is that it also helps the Canada economy in some way or other way. Am I correct?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the reasons that they're leading one of the G7 countries, is because a lot of these startups, when they flourish, they would, definitely help growing the economy by hiring, more local employees, as well as creating a lot of resources, right, in the country. And for sure, you nailed that, and definitely right on that idea.
Thank you, Mr. Taheri, for sharing your insight, in fact, and expertise with us today. It has been pleasure having you here with your short time visit there at UAE, and then we could catch up to you at Dubai, this studio, to discuss and give you valuable insight. Thank you very much for that.
Pleasure having you. Thank you so much for having me, and had an amazing experience meeting you and the team, and we'd love to share more stories hopefully down the road.
Thank you. Mr. Pourang, thanks for great insight about Canada startup and the role of VC and your own expertise and detailed information. And with this interaction, a lot of viewers are going to get benefited to understand it, not just Canada startup as a visa process, but is actually the whole ecosystem of establishing businesses and how they can become successful. As a gesture, we always ask and request our guest to sign this mug, which should be as remembrance and a reference point for your visit here.
Absolutely.
May I request for you,
of course,
your autograph
absolutely.
here in the mug.
Thank you.
Thank you. To our listeners, thank you for tuning to Global Residency and Citizenship Talks. We hope you liked our today's podcast. If you did so, like us and subscribe us. Stay tuned for more such exciting episodes where we explore opportunities for global mobility and business growth. Until next time, take care.